It's from Miss Amanda Green. Miss Green is a registered social worker, couples counselor, and author with over 25 years of experience supporting individuals and couples in transforming disconnection into meaningful, sustainable relationships. She is the creator of the Butterfly Blueprint, a systems-based approach that integrates emotional depth with practical tools for relational transformation. Today, she invites us to explore the Butterfly Blueprint, a systems model for transforming couples connection. Please welcome Miss Amanda Green.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. It's very exciting to be here today. Thank you to the organizers. And today I'll be speaking about the Butterfly Blueprint. This is a model for how couples can move from instinctive attraction to conscious connection. The central idea is simple. A couple is never just two people. There is also the relationship itself, the space between them. And when that space is cared for intentionally, it can become a place of healing, growth, and transformation for both partners. So I'll begin by walking through the 4 phases of the Butterfly Blueprint, and then I'll introduce the 7 principles that help couples move through this transformation in real life. Also, for each of those 7 principles, I'll refer to a case example. Maya and Jordan, a couple, a fictitious couple, who are navigating a disagreement about whether to move into a bigger home or save that money and stay put where they are. So let's dive in on to the next slide. And the Butterfly Blueprint has 4 phases, which are listed there: the honeymoon, the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and the butterfly. And so let's just head right on into the honeymoon stage. This is well known by most people. We have this initial phase in our relationships where we call it the honeymoon phase. I like to refer to this phase as chocolate love, because when we first say, I love you to a new partner, what we're really saying is, I love you like chocolate. In other words, I don't really care for the chocolate. I love the feeling the chocolate gives me. It's sweet, it's satisfying, it's good for me. Same goes with a new partner. This is why I listed those words there, that a relationship with a new partner is based on instinct, it's pleasure-driven, it's conditional, self-focused, and temporary. Because the challenge is that when we stop feeling good, when it stops tasting yummy like chocolate, for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter what the reason is, but we say, I fell out of love, and maybe I don't love you anymore. And this is when we enter the caterpillar phase, which is the next slide. And in the caterpillar phase, not only are we not feeling that same warm, fuzzy feeling, but now differences and polarities begin to surface between the partners. I've listed some there. There's really an infinite number of polarities that couples can encounter as they go through this caterpillar phase, but we all have heard of, like, my partner's extroverted, I'm introverted, or my partner spends more and I want to save for retirement, etc., etc. So in couples counseling, couples will just refer to this idea. It's like, we don't feel like we're on the same page anymore. We're not really on the same team. There's these gaps between us, and some couples say there's chasms between them, great distances, and these distances and gaps start to feel threatening, and they don't know how to bridge them, and they get into explosive arguments or days of silence between them, and then they reach out for some help. So on the next slide, we see how when people come into counseling, they're typically arguing about things like money, sex, parenting, in-laws or extended family, and jobs around the house. Those are the kind of the big five. And they get into repetitive arguments when they're trying to talk about their disagreements. I like to refer to this as the clash of the perspectives, because basically on that loop, one partner is one half of the loop, the other partner is the other half of the loop. And the more one partner gives their perspective, the other partner just kind of comes right back and gives their perspective. And we just kind of go back and forth. It's like this. No, it's like this. And it often lands as an attack when we present our perspective, and the other partner may get defensive and then do a counterattack. And we just go round and round and round. This is an infinity loop, and it is like an infinitely stuck cycle, or dance, as a lot of counselors like to call it. So eventually the cycle takes on this life of its own. It's this self-perpetuating feedback loop, and it divides the couple. I just put either or there because it's one or the other. Win-lose often. And both partners end up feeling dismissed, unappreciated, misunderstood, alone. Questions and doubts start to surface. Whose fault is this? Is it me? Is there something wrong with me? Is my partner just incapable of meeting my needs, maybe? Are we incompatible? Should we separate? Maybe it would be easier to get together with someone else. Or maybe this just wasn't meant to be. So sometimes relationships do end. A lot of times they do end this way at this stage. But the butterfly blueprint points to another possibility. And this is heading to the next slide. And this is a turning point for couples, because instead of asking only who's the problem in this situation, the couple begins to ask, what's happening between us here? They start to be curious and ask different questions like that one. So this is a major shift. And the old approach is self-protection at the cost of connection. And this new approach is consciously, I will repeat, consciously, deliberately focusing on building the connection between them. So each person's needs and experience still matter, but now the couple adds an additional focus. They include the relationship itself in what they're protecting. And this is called the chrysalis phase. So it's the intentional mindset shift where the couple starts to build the connection consciously, instead of only reacting from instinct or being carried like in that honeymoon stage by hormones and nature basically pushing you together because it just seems good at the time. So when both partners do this, take on this new attitude, just like a caterpillar inside a chrysalis, synergy starts to happen. And what synergy means is that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's exactly what we see here. Well, with a caterpillar, we know what happens, and that comes out of the chrysalis. We'll see that in a minute as well. But just on the next slide, we can see that this synergy produces something new, something greater. So the red circle represents one partner here in the couple. The blue circle represents the other partner. And when they intentionally build this connection between them, the circles begin to overlap. They're no longer just separate, like roommates or going through the motions of a relationship, or just co-parenting or paying bills together, or like surviving in this world. They're intentionally trying to connect in a deeper way, and the circles begin to overlap and something new appears, which is the relationship itself, the living space between them, the purple place. And purple, of course, is something neither of them could experience on their own. Red is red, blue is blue. And you don't get to have purple unless you want to do this great work and become a true couple. So on the next slide, I use the metaphor of a butterfly. Hence, the model is called the butterfly blueprint. And it's the same idea here where one partner is one set of wings. We can say the left set of wings, and the other partner is the other set of wings or the right set of wings. And the body of the butterfly itself is the living center. It represents the relationship. And this shared center emerges through their mutual conscious effort to care for the connection between them. So the two partners actually literally build this. It's not there, and then takes two to tango, as the saying goes, but they build it when they choose to engage in this deep work together. And on the next slide, we just see again the butterfly phase. This is the last phase. It's a mature form of love. It's you can count on it. It doesn't kind of phase in and phase out and disappear and go with, I don't know, sort of the flavor of the week. So the connection between the partners becomes this living we, and it's a source of stability, resilience, security, and shared strength for both the partners. They become effectively interdependent, two distinct people with their own identities who rely on each other, but they don't lose themselves in the process. So the question becomes, how do couples actually build this kind of connection? And that brings us to the 7 principles of the butterfly blueprint, the practical ways couples learn to protect, nourish, and strengthen the space between them. So here we have the 7 principles. I'll read through them just to get started. They are to create space between you, 2, to nourish this new space, 3, to unite above conflict, 4, love your partner as yourself, 5, share embodied intimacy, 6, grow whole through one another, and 7, to spread connection. And we see there on the scales, we have Maya and Jordan. This is going to be our couple. And Maya wants to get a larger home. I've actually had this come up many times with couples, but Maya wants to get a bigger house for their growing family, and Jordan wants to preserve their financial breathing room and stay put where they are. So they are at odds with one another and don't know how to navigate those waters. So let's jump into the first principle on the next slide, which is create space between you. So the idea with this first principle is to catch yourselves in the stuck cycle before it catches you, because that's what'll happen, like getting caught in a spider web. It will divide you into 2 opposing sides, that I'm right and you're wrong. And what we want to do is just to pause, just to slow down, interrupt what is not working, what we know will lead us down that rabbit hole of conflict and going to our separate corners and silent treatments and all those things. We know how it goes because we go over this cycle over and over and over. So we want to slow it down and just delay it even if we can. That is success. When both partners make even a small effort to step back from their automatic reactions, a new space begins to open between them, as you can see on the right, where there is the potential for something different to happen. And in our case example, for example, Maya might ease up on pushing her agenda to look for a bigger house. She might just rein it in a little. And Jordan might restrict his urge to push back and defend all the reasons they should stay put and save more. So neither of them has abandoned their position, but they are no longer drowning each other in the cycle. The new space between them acts like a flotation device. It keeps them afloat, keeps them going day to day, just even amidst, that disagreement, that tension that they feel about this issue that they're facing. So space by itself, of course, is not enough. And if we don't want to fill that space with something different, old patterns will just resurface and fill in that space. As we know, that saying, nature abhors avoid. So we don't want to leave it that way, which takes us to the next slide and the next principle, which is to nourish that space. The second principle is about nourishing the space between partners with something different. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, probably not. It's a little quirky, but love is like a pet you have to feed every day. So the rationale is that you don't stop feeding your dog because you're upset or you're sick or you're tired. And you don't neglect your plants in your house because you're mad at them. Your relationship is the same. It's a living thing. And if you don't protect it and nurture it, it begins to wither. So sitting down beside your partner and asking them how they're doing would be an example of one of these small deposits of warmth, bringing home their favorite treat, giving them a little neck rub while they're sitting at their desk. These are like making small deposits into a shared emotional bank account. So Jordan might make Maya a cup of coffee in the morning, even though they'd argued about the issue the night before. And Maya might send Jordan a text during the day simply to say, I'm thinking of you with love. So these are very small gestures, but they matter. And they say, the difference that we're facing is real, but it's not the whole relationship, and we're not going to let it starve the connection between us. So nourishing the space also doesn't mean avoiding the conflict. Lots and lots of people love to avoid conflict. And I hate to even call it conflict because, like I said earlier, there's differences, there's polarities. It doesn't have to be called a conflict. It doesn't have to be a conflict, as we are going to see with the other principles. So we don't want to avoid it. We have to face it. But now what happens is the couple faces it together from a place of connection because they've made space. They were nourishing that space every day. And now we move on to the next slide, which is when they're going to choose to unite above the conflict. And this means that the couple faces the real issue together without letting the issue turn them against each other. So in this principle, the real enemy is the force of separation itself. We don't always think of that as a force, but we do experience like feeling repelled or feeling like, pushed away somehow, like pushed away from one another, I guess, emotionally or physically. And so that is this force of separation that is at work. The pull toward division, the pull into blame, defensiveness, and that me versus you dynamic. Now, uniting above conflict is very, very different from people-pleasing or peacekeeping or placating. So the conflict is seen and it's named and it's understood by both. And then the unity is built above it consciously because the connection is more important than that difference that they're facing. And this is how they both think about it, and this is how they both behave in relation to the conflict. So for Maya and Jordan, this means remembering their overarching goal. They want to have a family together. They do have a family together, and they want to continue to raise their children together and build their family. And this is what they have in common. They both want what's best for their family. They just see the path differently. Of course, we said Maya believes more space will support their family life better. And Jordan believes preserving financial stability will support their family life better. Both sound pretty good to me. So the work is not to erase the difference or cancel either perspective or pretend something doesn't matter that is being expressed. The work is to refuse to let that difference define the relationship or divide them from one another. They face that tension together, but from this place of connection between them. And to do that, each partner has to treat the other's perspective as important too, which takes us to the love your partner as yourself slide, principle number 4. And this principle is about equality of importance. So here's the idea. Basically, we all have this inner mechanism, and we all make calculations in life every moment. What feels good, what I want, what I like, what I'm drawn to, and what feels bad. I don't like it. I'm not drawn to it. It can be kind of like painful. So pleasures or pains. And the thing is, our partner has those experiences too. They're just different from ours. My calculations and my partner's calculations aren't the same, but the fact that we both make those calculations is the same for both of us. So all that we're saying here with love your partner as yourself is that you take your partner's pains and pleasures or likes and dislikes into account to the same measure that you take your own into account. So with Maya, she considers Jordan's need for financial security as important because it's important to him and she cares about him. She might take a look at the budget, understand the numbers, show him that what's important to him matters to her. And Jordan leans into understanding Maya's desire for more space. He's kind of curious about it. Maybe he asks some questions like, what does this mean to you? What do you want another room in the house? You want to do something in that room? Or like, what is the picture? And he shows openness and he shows care because it's important to her and he cares for her. This attitude of I'm going to care about what my partner cares about just as much as I care about the things that I care about. And when both partners have that attitude, it helps to bridge the gap. And each partner feels less alone. Each is carrying what's important to the other. Each partner is making room inside for the us and for each other and for the us and the we that they make. They're engaging in mutual consideration. So again, none of these principles is enough in and of themselves. They build on one another and they create a wholeness together, just as we're talking about today in this integral conference based on the integrality of humanity. So it's not enough though, just to know or understand that my partner cares. We want to feel it. We want to feel it in our bodies. We don't want to think it or believe it. And so this takes us to share embodied intimacy, principle number 5. Many couples struggle with intimacy, and intimacy is not just about having sex. It's about feeling close, both emotionally and physically. A couple can be in the same room, on the same couch, or even in the same bed, and still feel miles apart on the inside. And so that's not intimacy. The thing is, as we're saying about each of these principles, the couples need to learn how to build safety, trust, and even attraction, sexual energy or sexual tension between them more consciously. So love can be felt through touch, affection, sexual connection, getting to know your partner's pace, being present emotionally, physically, attuning to each other. So this is why this slide refers to safety in the body and touch without entitlement, which nobody welcomes, and presence without performance, with which nobody enjoys a feeling of having to perform. So we want to learn through this practice and this principle of sharing embodied intimacy that we can be close without pressure. We can have space without feeling hurt or rejected. And for Maya and Jordan, this might mean that they continue building physical and emotional closeness while the housing decision is still unresolved. Jordan might reach for Maya's hand during a walk to show, I'm here with you, even though we're working through something and there's a bit of tension. Maya might sit beside Jordan without pressing him to keep talking about it, showing I still want a closeness with you and I can respect you, just don't want to talk about this constantly. So as the safety grows, the differences are felt less as obstacles and threats and actually become opportunities for their mutual development, which takes us to principle number 6, to grow whole through one another. So what happens is that the gaps and the differences can become a place for growth for each partner. This is kind of like a big topic. We could spend a whole day on it. I could. But I'll just say to you that your partner is like a mirror for you, reflecting back at you where you have room to grow. So whatever that feedback is that your partner is showing you, I'll speak for myself. Maybe my partner is showing me I'm rigid or fearful or controlling or reactive. Again, there's infinite things we could put in there. But we want to kind of open up to this idea that our partner is actually helping us. These differences between us, these gaps we're experiencing, are actually benefiting us beyond anything we could imagine, because they're giving us a light into where we can grow. So before we rush to solve the problem, we can ask ourselves, curious, what is this difference revealing in each of us? And how might each of us grow through it? So, for example, Jordan's desire for financial security is important. The flip side is that maybe he tends to err on the side of caution all the time in life. Maybe he avoids risk, has trouble enjoying life when there's always another rainy day to prepare for. Maya's desire for more space also matters, and the flip side might be that she maybe moves too quickly with things, or underestimates financial pressures, or wants the feeling of expansion and enjoyment before fully considering the practical limits. So again, we see how what our partner is bringing to the table, which at first it feels like, I don't like this. This is not on the same page with me. I want my partner to bend so that they're going to do what I want. But if we take a different approach and have a different attitude and open up our hearts and minds to our partner, we can actually stretch and expand outside of our comfort zones and evolve and grow into more whole individuals and a more whole couple, a more balanced individual within myself, and a more balanced couple relationship. I can share a little quick personal example. Like in my own relationship, I tend to be the one who would spend on renovations or go on a trip or, spend money. My husband is retirement. Understandably, he wants to retire. I don't blame him. So, there can be a tug of war there a little bit of how the money gets spent. But I have to say, wow, I honored his desire to retire, and I've saved consistently, etc. And guess what? Now I get to retire. And if it wasn't for his desire to save for retirement and planning, and my willingness to be open to his desire, I probably would never get to retire because I would not organize that for myself. So I'm really happy that I took that approach. Likewise, my husband opens up to my desire to go on trips and do renovations. And when we're on a trip, he's often turned and said, thanks for organizing this. And he's happy to be there. He's happy to be doing it. And he would never organize that for himself either. So our lives become more whole. That's that purple part, that synergy. But it's a positive synergy. It's a life-giving synergy that happens. You become more, you expand, you grow, and life gets more flavors and colors than you thought you could have before. So just like the roots here and these trees become intertwined and supported by an underground network, partners can grow through one another again, without losing their own identity. And when a couple takes on this new approach to navigating the various polarities they face, the resulting connection doesn't stay between just them. It spreads. And that takes us to our last principle, spread connection. So this is about becoming an example for others. As we know, emotions are contagious and connection is relationally contagious. It spreads through the atmosphere we create around us as couples, as families, and further on. I put all the way to countries there with an exclamation mark, but we can always hope for that too. So, for example, with Maya and Jordan, their children may not understand the housing market or the budget, but they do feel the atmosphere in the home. And they do notice whether disagreements turn into tension or silence, blaming or distance, or whether their parents can stay respectful and keep caring for each other and work things through without turning against each other. And who knows, one day, maybe the kids are going to be playing and one wants to play a game and the other one wants to go outside. And they sort of have these echoes, this sense, hey, wait, there's something here. What about, what do you want to do? Oh, that's what you like. Oh, we got to include both somehow here and communicate and negotiate and care for one another and prioritize the connection between us above all else. And this is how connection spreads. The couple becomes a living example, showing others how to do it. So on the last slide, we just thought I would come back to Maya and Jordan. Did they buy the house? You all want to know. And guess what? Cliffhanger. Not going to say. But in a way, that is not the main point. At the end of the day, maybe they buy a bigger house. Maybe they don't buy a bigger house. Maybe they find a smaller upgrade, wait another year, renovate. Maybe they rent storage, change the budget, or just discover some other shade of gray between the black and white options. The real transformation is that the goal is no longer for Maya to win or Jordan to win at the other partner's expense. The goal is for the connection to win, and that connection includes both of them, so they do both win. It might seem like we didn't address this issue directly, but we did, just not in the old way, where couples go head to head until one person gives in, shuts down, or wins. The butterfly blueprint addresses the dilemma by changing the level or the perspective from which the couple approaches it. They're no longer asking, how can I get my way here? How can I get what I want? Get my partner to do what I want? They're asking a different question. How do we face this difference in a way that protects us and strengthens us? That is the new way of the butterfly blueprint. Not avoiding the polarity, not collapsing into the conflict, but building a stronger we above it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. So we're going to provide an opportunity for questions, but I want to go ahead and summarize. This isn't my question, but it's kind of a summary of a few questions. Let's say that I'm a person, this may be a little out of left field, but let's say I'm a person who I've got it all together. I'm good looking, funny, I've got the whole package and could in theory enter a relationship at least up to the honeymoon phase with a variety of people, many people. I could find a lot of people with whom I could enter that stage of the relationship with. You describe a growth process and a level of maturity that perhaps could only be reached by the process you describe, where you see your partner as your mirror and that deeper work that you describe. Presumably, I start this work relatively naive because you're describing really mature, deep things. I need to really work on myself to reach those things. And maybe I could only do so in such a relationship where I reach what you're saying, I reach well into that relationship. So my question is then, how do I choose somebody with whom I could have such a relationship and make it past the honeymoon phase? I mean, does it matter who I choose, or I could reach that with just about anybody? How would you advise here?
It's important, right? It's important. We don't want to get into a relationship with the first person who walks by necessarily. It's also tricky because it's a tricky question to answer because, when we meet someone, we're just meeting them, and you don't get to know someone until you're already in it and getting to know them. And even like you don't really get to know someone until you maybe live with them. And then it's like, wow, now we're living together. And it's like you're already in it knee deep or deeper. And then you're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. And oh, I don't feel good about this. And so it's a tricky question. Like on the one hand, I guess I want to answer on the one hand, and on the other hand, then I'm going to be on the fence. But on the one hand, if two people want to engage in this work, they can, and even if you're one person and your partner isn't up to it, you can change the dance you do with your partner by changing your own steps in that dance. And the system has to adjust when you change your move in the dance. So you can always do this work, either trying to be an example to your partner, trying to do it with your partner, if they agree. And then on the other hand, I guess, I don't know, like it's good to try to figure out what are our values, and like, do we have the same values? What is important to us? We don't always say and show those things though when we first meet. So it's a little bit of a game, like it's a little hard to sometimes know. But if you can have conversations about things, even like the basics, do we want to have kids, and do we, what do we want logistically, but also like heart and mind and values and priorities. I don't know. Probably someone else has some good answers for that question.
No, that was a good answer. Okay, so I will let others ask. Roman has a question. Go ahead, Roman.
If this is enough to show someone your presentation, that another person would start thinking about it, or do you have any special course that people can that they can participate in to understand all that system of change in the couples?
Thank you so much, Roman, for your question. I have done a course based on this 5 times. And so there's been about 60 couples that have gone through the course as it's evolved. Right now, I don't have one going. I'm happy to do a course. I would love to have a co-facilitator. If there's enough people that want to get together and do a course, I will be there if that's a desire that people have. And I would, like I said, really welcome a co-facilitator for that as well. So that's where that's at. Maybe you were wanting something like that starts next week, Roman, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Green. We're going to come to the end of our day. Roman, did you have something else? You wanted to follow up?
I want to answer because we also work on the course like that. And I would like to propose that you join our team, and we can inter-exchange about this issue. And while we're here, such integral people, let's get together and create something together.
Great.
Thank you.
As we come to the end of our first day,